the left. Do you know which sprite that is?
On the left, that's possibly Mondolin.
And then, of course, we have Samus Aran on the right.
Yeah. I believe that's Mondolin or maybe Hat Color Link. Hat Color Link will be easy to tell once he gets a hat, because he'll turn into the color of the hat, so like purple and yellow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, early on, my runners didn't find anything really of consequence in their house. Looks like pretty much just a piece of heart. Looks like we may have lost werfjig for a second there, but we'll have him back in a moment.
I have his audio. Oh, there it is.
And the blue cane.
Nice. This one's actually like not hard. You just have to know how it works, which is not the way that werfjig. Just use it. It's a good way to waste your magic. You really want to make sure that the enemy walks into you as you are triggering the activation of the cane, so that you don't lose any time.
It'll be interesting where they decide to take advantage of this the most, because like you mentioned, I mean, they don't have a lot of magic to work with, and there's only so much magic in Escape. So, I mean, they're going to want to put this to good use to get, not just through the rooms, but most importantly, to get a bomb drop.
Yep. That's actually the hardest part. Berna is probably the one where you won't get a bomb the most. You have to kind of go out of your way. A good one is grabbing the pots here and throwing it at that guard who will usually chase you down the hallway. Well, you risk losing. So, like, the way that werfjig did that there, that's exactly how you want to use blue cane. As an enemy is walking towards you, and then follow the damage boost. And you absolutely don't want to turn it on and off, like AceMcBadass is doing. Each activation uses 1/8 of your magic bar, but after that activation, it will only take 1/16 of your magic bar. Probably, I think it's about every, like, 3 or 4 seconds. So once it's turned on, it does not drain your magic that much.
So what you're saying is it's the anti-pumping of Rando.
Essentially, yeah. Although you can still anti-pump a lot in Rando, but you're probably not going to lose. You're probably not going to lose a race to it.
You got that right. But I definitely want to echo those sentiments. Wow, we got a Moon Pearl.
Like, honestly, I don't know if AceMcBadass has enough magic here if he does this run. No, he does, but he will now have to use 2 pots, and he will have to do a save and quit once he reaches either Zelda or you have to grab extra magic. I think that the save and quit's probably his best play. So in standard randomized swords, they added a function to make this a little bit more beginner friendly. With the extra exposure this mode got, it was originally meant to be a mode for slightly, maybe people who aren't really ready for the openness of open, like the figuring out the route in. Maybe they need the escape done, just kind of get their bearings in a seed. It was supposed to be just a slightly more advanced one, but with the tournament and so many people, they've made a few adjustments so that newcomers, because this is going to be the mode they start with probably now, could do it. So if you save and quit at any point during the escape, you get sent back to less of a point than if you save and quit in the regular game. There's a few save and quit points.
Well, I want to say Zelda's Cell is one of them, right?
Yep, Zelda's Cell is one of them. The moment you touch the statue, or sorry, the library, or sorry, the throne room, once you even touch that staircase, that sets your reset point to in front of the throne.
I didn't know that. I appreciate you sharing that, because that's very useful for planning your way through Escape.
Yes.
I mean, it happened to me. I forgot a bomb, and it cost me drastically. So, that's definitely something to keep in mind, folks.
It'll give you either quarter magic, full bombs, or it will give you 10 arrows.
Depending on the weapon you have, right?
Yeah, depending obviously on the weapon. So whatever Uncle did for you, he will obviously correspond. And you have the Fire Rod, quarter magic, Berna and Samaria, quarter magic, 10 arrows if the bow, and 10 bombs if the bombs.
Well, that's great information. I'm definitely putting that in my back pocket for later on in the tournament.
Even Cardcat said, like, he'll still enter this room because even though he programmed this game, he still doesn't feel comfortable just resetting once he touches the throne. Oh, it's 3 bombs on 10. I swear I saw somebody save and reset yesterday and get 10 bombs back.
That being said, I might have found an 8 bomb drop, probably.
Yeah. AceMcBadass does need to pick up these magic pots here. to get through.
It's good that he knows where they are.
Yes, that's very good. So that's why you didn't say, oh, wow, the mirror. Well, a little late in escape. Usually you want to see that a little earlier.
I mean, but we have Mirror and Moon Pearl. I mean, oh my goodness. All we need now is a flute, right?
Yeah, exactly. We got a nice little travel suite here. This is going to really help out their Riot, depending on... If they find an early Dark World, then there's a absolute ton of options for them if they find the early Dark World access. Now, here's a big deal. AceMcBadass doesn't have a lot of magic. Didn't want to waste it on... He wants to make sure he can kill this rat. So he doesn't have this bomb. So what's in here is going to be very important to determine the flow of this seed. Okay, just a map. Let's add some more bombs. And red cane. So that could be very important.
I would say at this point they can do it. That joke feels a little shallow outside of the NMG tournament.
Yeah.
That's all right, though. Our runners are probably ecstatic to find that mirror and the Moon Pearl, though. You got to wonder what the troll is going to be at this point.
Now, so here's the thing. AceMcBadass is probably fine. That wasn't an early progression item. Kane doesn't unlock anything right away. There's a very... No, it's impossible for the Kane to lock either glove upgrade behind it. So, in this seed, AceMcBadass... Oh, and there's the sword. I didn't even... Oh, he mirrored? Did he pick up... He did pick up a sword. So he mirrored back to Hyrule Castle, not realizing where it would send him. He was hoping to mirror to the front entrance of Escape, like this. He didn't realize his entrance point was still at the start of Hyrule Castle.
Yeah, that was a little disorienting.
No, that would actually have been really cool if he had the bow and then just started walking to Eastern.
Yeah, it'd be a handy time save.
That would have been handy.
Well, I guess we get to see what the tree pole is going to be.
Yep. It's generally an early thing that most people do. They'll check the first tree pole because this is the one that's most commonly accessible to you that you don't really have to work for. And then 20 rupees off of Crab, man. Okay. So this will be useful information in case. Now, they already have 120, so now they can talk to the bottle vendor. I would hit the other bush crab for some money, the one in the forest. Nothing on the ledge.
Yeah, so at this point, it's really not going to be much reason to go to Ganon unless we somehow don't have Dark World access, which is still a possibility. I mean, we haven't found any lift upgrade yet. Though I imagine a hammer would change that pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yep, this is correct. What werfjig is doing. He wants the extra money so he can buy bombs. Because you really need early bombs for your to help out your early routing.
Yeah, the 3 will definitely get you through the easy spots in Kakariko, but we want to have another several just so we can make sure we can do all of our exploration without doing any extra trips.
At least 4 others are required for 6. You need at least 6 others for other progression spots. 2 for Hype Cave, 1 for Bombable Hut in Dark World. You need 1 for Moldorm Cave, 1 for Ice Rod Cave. Oh, the level 1 tree pole is full magic.
That's
handy.
handy
Not
in
too
a lot
hard
of
to get
places.
either. Yeah, that's actually very handy. Very handy spot for that is actually Ganon himself. Just before Turtle, the hand outside Turtle Rock is another one. In case you need magic for something there, although there's always the full magic in Turtle Rock.
But yeah, if a runner were to fall to Ganon or something bad happens, run out of magic, they would have a very easy backup there.
Exactly. You grab the fairy from the tree. You grab the tablet that acts as a pole tree and kill Moblin, and there you go. And Ice Rod as well for our runners.
Always a good find, but you kind of wonder sometimes if you really want to be going into Turtle Rock anyway.
Well, it's not often that so the Ice Rod doesn't actually point at all to Turtle Rock. I know it's a good meme. Oh, you find the Ice Rod. Oh no, you have to fight Trinets, or it means pendant Ice Rod. But it's there's the Fire Rod. Okay, well, see now that's a sign.
Does change things.
Yeah, that and the Canis Maria. That is a sign to go to Turtle Rock. And the Master Sword as well.
We're finding a lot of important things early on.
Yeah.
Where we're going to find all these big 20s that are missing.
Yeah, the Ice Rod only wants Trinets or whatever could possibly be behind him. So it's actually not. It's just nice to have because if it's a crystal, the Ice Rod can be literally anywhere that isn't Ganon's tower or on Trinets himself. So you really want to find that early. Otherwise, you're going to be spending the entire seed looking for it.
Yeah, and Peace of Mind going a long way for our runners. They're going to have to make some gambles at some point with their progression, figuring out, whether or not they want to go one way or the other. But we do have a bottle already.
Nice. I love finding the early bottle before you even pass by the sick kid. Neither runner doing the chicken lich.
I mean, it's a no chicken fly zone.
I mean, I know it's a no major glitches tournament, but that only means for him, for Link.
But we do have, well, I guess you could say, I don't know, is that a fusion suit? We do have the blue mail. And the power glove.
There's the power glove. Did AceMcBadass miss it?
I don't think so. We were both on different screens at the same time. Might have been easy to miss.
Okay, he does have it. I very much doubt that would be a spot that would be forgotten.
Our runners do find out that there's nothing of value here at the library. That's good knowledge to have. At this point, desert becomes the next place we're worried about when it comes to boots. But there's a flute at the racing game. Well, there's an early example of the gamble paying off. AceMcBadass gets to save some time on getting to that flute. We'll activate his burb a little early.
Oh, no. Go walk up there. Don't. Saving crit is much slower. Yeah, unfortunately, that's much slower than walking up.
It would appear that the gamble has immediately been rescinded at this point.
Somewhat. Oh, he really just wants to see what's in here. Hopefully he remembers to go activate that flute.
In the meantime, werfjig is going to do exactly that. Where we go next is a good question because there's a lot of light world to explore. I would say south
there's
side,
so
right?
much. Yeah, I mean, they don't really have any... That's the most obvious play. They don't really actually have access to too much. They just have a lot of pieces that, once they get Dark World access, they are going to have tons of options. Hookshot will add them options. The hammer even. They could go to Hera if they really wanted to.
Yeah, they do have a fire source too, so I mean, it's a safe finish.
Now, Adrian is still on the table, although very unlikely with the way that the seed is going. Finding that early Master Sword is always a question. Like, well, it's nice to have the early upgrade, but is this a red heron and it's actually going to be an Adda seed? Who knows?
I'm trying to think everything that we would need to discount that completely. I mean, we're pretty much just looking at hammer or Titan's Mitts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just hammer or Titan's Mitts will give us Dark World access at this point. Titan's Mitts would give us the most possible locations to check, but isn't necessarily the most convenient. The big thing that would let us do is if we found Titans and a medallion, we may actually have a very, very early mire.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, even if there was something in the mire area in general, we have checkerboard cave available at that. We would also have desert.
Now, another thing to keep in mind is the players' skill levels. Currently, both runners only have 4 Matt's hearts. Well, AceMcBadass only has 3, but I'm sure he's going to pick up his other heart shortly.
Yeah, even with that blue mail, I mean, there's a lot of dangerous parts of this run very early on. With the extra heart, it's still going to be pretty tight.
Dungeon 5, 6, and 7, assume that you both have blue mail, progression-wise, and like at least 10, 11, actually probably more than that, just heart pieces. They honestly expect you to kind of have around 12 to 15 hearts by the time you start tackling the last 3. So the game is balanced around that idea.
Another way to look at it that way, interesting that you bring that up, the spheres of logic, as we like to call them, sphere 1 being everything available to us early in the game without extra items. Most of the enemy design actually kind of follows that as well. There's only a handful of enemies that can do more than 1 heart of damage to you in the overworld early in the game. But as we move into the dark world and more difficult dungeons, we're going to see more and more of the enemies that can do 2 to 3 or 4 hearts of damage.
Now, the big exception to that is actually where werfjig is the Ice Rock Cave. These guys are supposed to basically be tough little defenders of the Ice Rock Cave. If you're playing no guide, Satrilla tells you to go get the Ice Rod right away. Right after you get Pegasus boots, he tells you to run up here, and that is so that you have the Ice Rod for Moldarm, which is actually the weapon you're intended to have.
You mean Lamolus, right?
Yeah, sorry, Lamolus.
Which is interesting because growing up, I never really thought to use that, but it actually is a really effective weapon. It's just like Fire Rod.
I believe he says something along the lines of you're gonna need a rod of cold or something for the next, like, to rescue the net, to get the next pendant or something. He basically heavily implies, hey, go here. you need this weapon. But yeah, I don't think I used it either.
Ooh, we get an early powder out of Old Man. That's going to be really handy to keep it safe.
We have the mirror, so if we find Titans, that's actually available to us. Titans or Hammer. So the moment we have Dark World access, that's actually just another item. So both runners doing a minor sequence break.
Yeah, we saw Dark Room out of werfjig, and AceMcBadass pulled off a fake flippers to check both the island there, and he's going to go to the hobo next. Ooh. Zora Sniper from 2 screens over, practically, takes out AceMcBadass. So normally in the NMG run that Zelnus and I are familiar with, if you do the fake flippers glitch and you get hit, the game actually gets very confused. You don't have flippers, needs to try to place you somewhere. It soft locks when you do that. In the randomizer, it's been patched so that it just kills you instantly. Certainly more forgiving than the screen scrolling glitch that we're used to seeing. And definitely a lot more forgiving. Well, it sounds like Zelnus, your instinct served you very well. We're getting a Hera check out of werfjig.
Yeah, it's not the highest value play, but at this point they need to go for low value plays.
Definitely helps to have that flute right now. Well, less than 20 minutes into the seed, we have an early coffee break out of werfjig. It also appeared that Hobo didn't have really anything of value, so the next place that AceMcBadass can go, actually, there's an opportunity to do a water walk in the waterfall cave, so we get to compound on our sequence break. Could potentially be a really nice item there that would make some of the dungeons faster. I think we'd be really happy to see Hammer or Hookshot. Gotta watch out for those Zoras, though. They almost got sniped again. So in order to do this water walk, you have to have the fake flippers glitch active, you have to have Moon Pearl, you have to enter the cave and then leave it, and once you do, you're now on land, sort of, and you can walk again. You can also...
Yeah. Oh, now if you refill your heart container... you actually get state changed again. Oh, she goes, hey, listen, I didn't know that!
She gives a fairy there?
She gives she gives you a random thing. I didn't realize she said, hey, listen, when you did a fairy, though. She gives you a random... She refills your bottle. If you throw a bottle to her, she'll always refill your bottle. So, with whatever you have. So that's why she says, money saved! Because normally she'll just give you a potion, right? And that's like 100. I think she'll only do that once. Or maybe I've just never seen it twice, so it's never time thing. So if you're really crunched on money and you need a bottle for Ice Palace, you can always stop by her and she'll nicely fill you up.
Yeah, that's a really useful thing. And not only that, but I imagine you can also do it with the Pyramid Fairy as well.
I don't actually think you can. I don't know about that one.
Even if, it would definitely be a good backup strategy. We get a pretty rough life lesson for AceMcBadass over here in Zora, though. Probably not happy about that. The ledge item was a piece of heart, so we're probably not coming back this way for a while. Oh, and it does appear that werfjig did take a fall trying to do the bomb jump, so still hasn't checked the big chest yet here in Hera. Well, so Waterfall Cave was a dud, Zora was a dud. I think that means Catfish has to have something, right?
Believe so.
We can't just have the entire northeast of the game world just be useless. It is Randomizer, after all. We're having a couple of falling problems here in Tower of Hera. I think werfjig might be a little more used to having boots in this dungeon, because there's a couple of tricks that are harder to do without them.
Yeah, I found out you can actually just walk through that bumper without even the boots. I assumed that was a boots thing. Boot shrinking your hitbox or some weird thing, maybe, but nope.
Yeah, it just feels a little weird doing it when you're walking. I would probably bump off every time myself. It's also a little bit harder to do on an emulator, which is going to have a little more input lag, and you're probably a little prone to making accidental diagonal movements where you normally wouldn't. Well, as we enter the Troll Dorm fight, we have AceMcBadass making seemingly the same kind of play heading up to Hera, so our runners should be pretty much on the same pace here. Always nice to have the Master Sword instead of Fighter Sword, but we're going to take a third fall here in Hera for werfjig, so this is going to give AceMcBadass some time to catch up.
Yeah, I'm wondering where Patricia is. I think it has to be here, or it's going to be a nice little troll at Adina. We still need the lamp for Adinam to be a thing. I'm still waiting for this. Oh wow!
Oh!
Alley-oop!
Good lord. What? That's the worst luck. I mean, I've clicked into the rail before, but like that's just like off by a quarter mile from that bounce.
That was you really want to make sure to spin on this fight with Master Sword?
Yeah, Zelda's making a really great point because you do extra damage, so instead of doing 6 sword slashes with the fighter sword, you can just do 3 sword spins. Not only that, but the sword spin is very forgiving when it comes to the hitbox and how long it stays active. So it's a really great way to poke from relative safety. Well, time for the gut check. Where's werfjig gonna go next? It looks like to...
Well, he hasn't done
Cave?
the Fate Flip, so he's doing the Fate Flip. He didn't get anything, so he can't go to Hype Cave, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We already checked that. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Fate Flippers is the play for him now. So AceMcBadass should actually be a bit ahead if he has a good Hera. I mean, because he's already done this whole sequence.
Well, no, werfjig is going to take less. I'm not sure why he's killing everything. Oh, he needs magic. Does he not know there's a pot here? Full magic is right over here. Sometimes I swear it despawns. I'm not sure why. On the bright side, they do actually already have a crystal down, so that's nice.
Yeah, having not been to the Dark World yet, we're still looking at pretty limited information about where the rest of the crystals are. So our runners are pretty much just trying to figure out how much they can exhaust here in the Light World before it's time to, I guess, bite the bullet and fight Ganon. We're hoping we don't have to at all. So what does that leave us? Eastern Palace at this point?
And Adina.
Exactly, we didn't check there. So we don't even know what's on Desert Ledge either, which is interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people put it off for way too long.
Yeah, if I had flute, I would be checking that right away. I mean, that's such a time save to have the flute for that. Well, it looks like werfjig is going to check Sahasrahla and the Eastern Palace area. I mean, there are quite a few items in this direction, so had to do it eventually.
Yep.
However, if it was Gina's and Ace checks that next, that would be a pretty hefty disadvantage.
There are up to 6 items that can be gotten in this part of the game. Alright, Swamp Palace is the Dream Pendant. Can be a good sign. There's the cave. Oh, well, we're one step. I know it's so the game seems to really like to give you access to give you access to Aghanim with both the cape and the master. Not sure why. It just seems like it happens a lot. If you find both, you usually.
It doesn't seem like an Aga seed, but then again, I mean, we do have cape and master sword.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing. Interestingly, if you know how to stair pump, you can get past that guard every time because the way he moves, you'll always outrun him. It'll look close, but most of the way that you can get past guards in this game looks close.
And we can't advise him to boomerang instead because, yeah, we don't have that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just red rupee on the ledge, but we are going to see Adina, and that is where AceMcBadass is going to go, so we'll see if something is there.
Yep, if there's nothing there, then Ace does have a bit of catching up to do, but it's not too far. You can pretty much just flute over to 5 and be there in a moment.
Another interesting route in thing is saving Quidden once you pick up this item is faster than walking back through the cave if you have the flute. If you're not doing anything else in the desert, it is always faster to save and quit.
That does make a lot of sense. You do have to walk all the way through that cave. I didn't really consider that, but that's a very valid point.
And there it is. That is huge. I'm not sure why he paused there. You gotta go.
Well,
maybe that's blade frames? I'm not sure. Go ahead.
There's a couple things. I mean, you got to think at this point, Ace wants to avoid Eastern Palace until he can get to Palace of Darkness and kind of get the warp portal there. I mean, even if you wanted to do it next, if he could access Palace of Darkness right away, which I don't think he can because he needs Hammer for 5 portal, but if he can do that, that's going to be a much faster progression through both dungeons.
Correct. You're going to want to avoid Eastern as much as possible now, so I don't think there's going to be anything in Eastern. It feels like the seed is now wide open with those mitts.
I think you're wrong. There's a big 20 in Eastern. That's pretty important. Hashtag team Big 20. But so with the Titan's Mitts available to us, there's a couple different places we can go to, but without the hookshot, the Dark Death Mountain isn't as valuable. We had a really quick map check, but I didn't catch much of it. I think Palace of Darkness was one of the red crystals, though.
It's pretty useful. Okay, that was another very quick map check.
One of the tough things for werfjig here is that it appears that he knows how to do all the dark rooms, so it's going to take a little longer to get him, but oh wow.
That's a pretty big deal.
So we have a sword and a lift upgrade advantage for AceMcBadass right now. Village of Outcasts being kind of the standard play after you get the mitts, if you don't have, like, say, hookshot for Death Mountain, so really big advantage here.
The big thing I'd be thinking about here is how low health I am. So depending on how comfortable these runners are, like they have access to Skullwoods and Thieves Town for completion. And Warfid is going to get this right away. We also have access to the Mire area. We have access to all of the Dark World. He is going straight in here, so he's feeling pretty comfortable. He does have the blue chain, that helps a lot. And there's the shovel. That's actually quite useful to find when he has the mirror, and he has yet to do the kind of checks along South Dark World.
So as of now, our routing is going to be pretty friendly here.
Our runners both going to be friendly and very open. So our runners have a lot of options available to them. Lots of dungeons, lots of places to go. They have the mirror.
Well, it's good for werfjig to find that Titan's Myths, though, because that's really going to help keep this race relatively even. I mean, right now, Ace has got a pretty healthy overworld exploration in Dark World, but that could have been a much worse situation if werfjig had forgotten about it completely.
There's the big key. We'll see where Warfid goes. And there's Bamos. And he's just going to leave. Okay, so it must be a pendant. No, it's a crystal. Okay.
I think what you were saying before about health really rings true here. I mean, it's not everybody's 100% comfortable with blind fight, and I think the Hellway alone is the reason that a lot of people would shy away from that.
Yeah, it's just a... You have blue chain, so you can either choose to use that at Hellway or at Blind himself. But
you could just get God
you don't
Pixel.
know... Yeah, if you could.
Oh, we don't have boots, though, so yeah, that's a much more difficult challenge.
Yeah, that doesn't actually work as well. You kind of gotta fight him. But with Temper, you do take down the invisible guys, I believe, in one slash, so...
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
So it's not too bad. The Hellway's not too bad when you're able to cleave through them.
Willing to bet that werfjig's going to regret going into here before finding that tempered sword, though.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how far he's planning to go. I'm not sure if he'll feel comfortable going to... Oh, and there's a blue potion. Maybe he will go to Mothula. That would give me some confidence. A fairy and a blue potion. Or he doesn't have the fairy. That's AceMcBadass who traded in his empty bottle for a fairy.
Having that fire rod, though, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a much more manageable fight if you can refill that magic. I would almost just worry about colliding with Mothula, because that would do... Well, I don't know. Blue Mail, that doesn't do 2 hearts, does it? Either way, it's risky. But having the Cane of Samaria making the big key room for Skullwood's much easier to deal with. Alright, so last one I commentated, it was Shovelsmith. What kind of item do you think we're going to get from Blacksmith today?
Probably just a generic non-progression item.
You heard it here, folks. I'm going to bet Mushroom.
Yeah, generic non-progression item.
Alright, big 20. I'm not too upset about that. No need for fake powder today. We get to go right to the magic bat once we warp back over. Or potentially we'll hold off on it.
You can actually take the chest down this hole, but he probably wants to walk the chest along the south route.
And in the back cave today, it's going to be... All right, explosives. The bat was plotting to destroy the blacksmith's house.
Oh, he got taken away. I would attempt to powder that fairy. JSC's pretty full on health and doesn't have he doesn't need to, but
Actually, speaking of the floor masters, because that's a really good subject, because this randomizer is based on the 1.0 version of the game, you can get something can happen to you, what we like to call in the NMG community, getting 1.0'd, where you can get picked up from a hole like that you're falling down, say for example, the one that werfjig just fell down into, or when you're dropping down to Mothula. So you got to be careful that the hand is going to move and hit the floor before you drop down. You could get sent right back to the beginning of the dungeon. Ooh, that's rough. werfjig actually had to use the blue potions, so we no longer have that extra magic walking into Mothula, and we have to use quite a lot of it if we're going to fire rod that room, so
Yep.
it's a tough spot. Then again, he could just be really good at Mothula.
He could. It's 8 slashes. Now, even it's one of the tougher fights in low percent, too. So this is pretty much the low percent fight, honestly. 6 hearts. You're a little bit under health, but every spin you land is 2 hits, luckily. Sadly, the fire rod isn't super effective on this guy. It only deals Master Sword damage.
Personally, I find the best use for fire rod in this fight to be just get him unstuck from the corner.
Also confirmed it is Manga Link and not Hat Color Link, because he's still blue. He's not old.
Well, the selection of sprites seemed to have paid off here. He cleaned up Mothula with only losing 3 hearts. That was a great fight.
Yeah, very, very good.
It looks like Ace is going to head to the same place, but he has the benefit of an extra sword upgrade. Well, so I believe we have the big key for Skullwoods here on werfjig's side. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so I don't think he had an opportunity to check the big key chest, and I think that's what he's heading back for right now.
He also probably wants to go do Thieves Town.
Oh, okay. So just a little bit of delay there. I wasn't sure if he was heading back to Thieves Town or going down this hole. Okay, so I was wondering why he wouldn't have either saved or quit or mirrored in that situation, but this is why. Yeah, I think Thieves Town is the logical next choice. I mean, we have it available to us. We don't have the hammer. We're probably hoping to find it here, but... Flips will do. Flips or something. So we find flippers in the big key chest. That's an interesting item to find here. As far as what we get out of flippers, we know that Hobo doesn't have anything. We know Waterfall Cave is worthless. So at this point, it's really more of a dungeon item. We can now access the Green Pendant Swamp Palace, which is interesting. We have everything we need for that except for a close portal, but we can still walk there. And not only that, but we can also get to Ice Palace, which is interesting. So with that in mind, I'm not sure if that's going to impact our early routing here. We're going to get a bumper cave check. It's only a small arrow upgrade. No big deal there. We're probably not going to bother with that, although we can get it. In the meantime, AceMcBadass rapidly approaching the Mothula fight. werfjig's going to check the northern Dark World, so we're going to get a graveyard ledge check. We will probably... Well, we can't access King's Tomb yet. We can use the mirror to get there, but we need boots to get in. And so we're going to see the ledge first. In the meantime, AceMcBadass here trying his Tempered Sword Mothula fight. This would be interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot less here, but the spikes are still very dangerous. He's going to have to be very careful here. Gets it barely. I don't even know where his sword came in there.
Uh-oh. Okay, there was a little delay there, but he does get through with half a heart. Holy smokes, that was close. I think he does have a fairy, but he didn't want to have to do the animation for that. By the looks of things, I don't believe werfjig got anything out of the northern ledge from the graveyard. Still hasn't checked Village of Outcasts for that tempered sword, but will get a bottle of blue and green potion to kind of insulate against any low health fights that he might end up in later. It would seem he's wisely choosing to head back to Village of Outcasts. This is going to be a big thing to help even this up because Ace has a very handy, sword advantage here. That's going to make pretty much every dungeon he clears easier to do.
Yep. And a win here is actually pretty important. So, statistically, out of anybody who goes 0-2 in the second round, wow, the flippers! I missed that the first time around. That's a big deal. That gives us access to a few more places.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit about that. I mean, obviously Waterfall Cave is nothing. Zora doesn't matter, but the dungeons, however, are definitely more interesting. And we also have a green pendant behind one of them. So I'm curious to see if that green pendant's in the logic.
That is 7 items locked behind Swamp Palace. So that is very interesting.
werfjig does get that tempered sword. Probably a little angry that he's heading into Thieves Town with it and not Skull Woods, though. Hey, a vanilla 300 in the C-shaped house. That's pretty nice. So at this point, if werfjig needs any kind of bottles to be refilled, pretty easy to do. We're not going to need rubies for anything else in this run besides the Palace of Darkness. Well, so Thieves Town seems like a natural choice here. Beyond that, that's a good question. I don't know where these runners are going to go after this. They don't have Hammer. They don't have Hookshot. So Desert's available to us with the Mirror and the Titansmith's Mire area. Pretty much all of Desert. We don't have a book to check the tablets. We're also still looking for a lamp.
There's quite a few things, though, that these runners can do here. I'll be curious. werfjig was very confident on his fight there. I wonder if he's going to do the whole of Thieves Town.
Yeah, if he can do his blind fight that well, I mean, there's going to be no issues here.
We can actually swim to Pod, too. That flipper's opened up a lot.
Wow.
Pretty much everything is open to us, honestly. This has been V29, just like very open. This is exactly the kind of logic lots of people have been asking for.
So I was a little thrown off there. I mean, when you say swim to Pod, that doesn't immediately come to mind normally.
No, it really doesn't. It's one of the weirder logic quirks. Is that Pod is accessible with the flippers because there's a bridge a ladder where the hobo is in Light World, but it's not there in the Light World. It's only there in the Dark World. So that could be where progression is. I think okay, good. His portal is slightly higher than I thought. He has to be very careful about how he enters it with where he left his portal. You have to be leaving your portal is somewhat of a skill, honestly.
It didn't look like Cave 45 over there had anything for him, so we're gonna take a quick look to see what Pinocchio over here has for us.
And just 300, and now he's gonna mirror because he has the shovel.
This is really efficient routing. And with Flute, I mean, we're never going to come by this part of the map again.
Pretty much. Well, we're pretty good from here. This purple chest has something that's going to be good for AceMcBadass. Going to keep him in because he did decide to only dip into Thieves Town. Now, that's not uncommon. Again, the dungeon is not easy with a lot of hearts.
Not only that,
the developers meant you to do it fourth.
Right, exactly. I mean, you have it available to you vanilla as pretty much as soon as you finish Palace of Darkness. But the nice thing about it too is that he hasn't wasted a death on blind getting the weird reset, and also it's not too long to get back there.
Exactly.
very fast dungeon to walk through when you've already done the big key.
Yeah, if you've already done the front half, it's not too much of a difference to just go to the back half of the dungeon, which is why it's such a common play, especially when it was in Key Sanity. Like, you basically just treated that as 4 locations in Light World.
Well, now that we know that the thief in the desert
Dark
is
World.
nothing of value for us, interesting to see where he's going to head next. Okay, yeah, I definitely agree with the idea of skipping over the pendant swamp when you don't have hammer.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I would actually personally check it after Hype Cave, just that one chest, because it's right there. Because if that is something and you find it, that's a good 1v1. Like, that's a good heads-up play.
It is definitely against an opponent, because, I mean, who is going to gamble on the one chest? And if that is the progression, I mean, I've had it happen to me, too. I mean, like, that's the worst place to realize you didn't check. Alright, well, we have the blind fight here by werfjig, and he has a very good first phase. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but it seems like he does know the fast kill here. Getting a really rough fireball is going to disrupt that, though. So at this point, werfjig is just avoiding colliding with the heads directly. I mean, that's going to be the best way for him to stay in this. And wisely choosing to use the Cane of Burna here to finish it off. Nice fight.
That's a very safe way of going about it. You actually do the whole fight with Cane of Burna if you do it a very specific way. You don't have much extra magic for that fight. So he's doing Eastern now. I don't necessarily agree with doing Eastern without the bow when you've got so many other options. He might just be checking these 3 chests, which is fine.
Yeah, it's definitely a worthwhile place to look here, but I'm
no,
right there
he's
with
going
you.
Eastern. You've just got so many other places to check at the moment. And with the mirror, you should just go to Pod, but he might not realize he has access to Pod.
Yeah, certainly an exotic way to get there. Well, there's quite a few digs going on over here. Definitely better than MS5 dig. Not getting much for it. In fact, the timer almost expired before we left the screen.
Yeah, that's usually a sign of a bad dig. Now, you pretty much always have to do the dig anyways, so it's usually fine.
Yeah, it just never feels good when you're walking away from it. Well, so on the bright side, if Ace had anything in the light world to do, or if wanted to flute out of Eastern Palace, then, you know, we do have mirror and flute. It's not going to be too bad. They both have bloomerang now, so, I mean, we're obviously ready to do some fun stuff. All right, so we did the South Side Dark World. We have basically just the book to get in order to finish that up. That Swamp Palace place is starting to look a little bit more appealing. Otherwise, we would have to be trying to go to Dark Death Mountain, right?
That is a decent play once we find the hammer or the hook shot. There's just so many options here. This is a nut seed. It's been a while. Actually, I shouldn't say that. There's actually been quite a few seeds. It's just nice to be getting these consistently.
We would definitely have to check Spike Cave, because that is still in the logic at this point.
No, we need the hammer.
Oh, you're right. Right early in the cave entrance. Absolutely. So if they do find hammer, that's something, but they have the rest of Dark Death Mountain at that point.
You need to play more 100%.
I just can't deal with that RNG, man.
That's not that bad.
I mean, you just got to get like 15 chess games once, and then you're just like, I don't know about this.
100% tournament win.
I don't think there's enough time in the day for speed gaming to host that. Like, could you imagine being the one sap who got like 20 and 20?
That would be annoying. I mean, is it really that much worse than blue balls? Really? I still think that 100% tournament where you only had to do chess game and that once, it was like just a rule for the tournament.
Now that would actually be really interesting.
Like, so actually like a tournament friendly 100%. But I don't know. That would be. I just think that there's a lot of cool things that you get to do in 100%.
I would 100% pick up
overworld.
that route in that situation.
Right?
But we're only joking around about that because there's not a whole lot going on in the race at the moment.
Yeah, they're just
kind of
we already
retracing our steps.
seen. Yeah, we're retracing. The runners are retracing each other's steps. You know, gotta keep it up. And with this, we are maybe seeing a play up north. No, oh, he hasn't done hype chief.
Well, hey, no, this is actually a really great time now that we're kind of waiting on our runners to do something new. To remind everybody, these guys are putting on a great show for you. Please follow the runners, werfjig and AceMcBadass. You're going to see a lot more races.
And if you enjoy what you see, feel free to follow them. But absolutely follow the speed gaming channels to catch all the action. Sits will be in operation soon. TM. There's also going to be ALTTPR 1 through 4 as well. So that's ALTTP Randomizer, and then 2 through 4.
All right, well, we know Bumper Cave is a bust. Looks like werfjig will be heading to Swamp Palace.
I like it, personally. Once you've done this, you go straight to ice, I believe. I know that there's not much open there, chat. Yes, I understand we don't have a hook shot or anything, but it still is a decent play. The number of times I've seen progression there has been pretty crazy.
You know, not only that, but I mean, if it just so happened that Hammer was, say, here in Swamp Palace, I mean, that'd be gigantic for ice.
There is actually, with their current items, a way that Hammer is not only there, but it's required to kill Cold Stare right now. If it goes Hammer, Small Key, go to the 3 chests past the spike roller, and you find the big key there. Then in that case, logic will actually require you to do the logic will actually have required you to do that area if there's a progression then on Cold Stare. Alternatively, it could go Hammer, Big Key, Small Key, and Big Chest would actually logically send you to Cold Stare, I believe. Nope, Swamp didn't have anything, so it's looking like ice now. AceMcBadass is making a play for East Dark World.
So, I mean, I guess the Swamp gamble did pay out. I'm just not sure if it paid off.
Yeah, unfortunately, not adding much to their value here.
Hey, I mean, peace of mind's worth it, though.
Yeah. It's also doesn't add. It's not that big of a time spent to get that single chest there. Now you may just never end up back there, so that's always nice to know.
Right, and that'd be a very worthy trade-off. If AceMcBadass at some point got stuck somewhere else, may end up diving all the way through Swamp.
Doesn't know what's on the, or forgot what was here.
Also, we get to see Catfish here as well.
We are going to see Catfish now. Is he going to pay out today? This is a weird... Okay, yeah, he does. Not progression, but heck, I'll take it if I'm going to have to go do Ice Palace.
Certainly a good thing to get, a second preference compared to progression. I wasn't expecting to find that, but I almost thought that we would have progression there because right now there's not too many places to check.
Now, I kind of wish that werfjig went here in the Dark World, because then he would have seen the ladders. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to realize. I just hope that they do know about this. This is a weird one, but...
And now all of a sudden Palace of Darkness looks more appealing as well, because, now that we can swim here. I think that might be why AceMcBadass is going here instead of Ice Palace first, but we're going to get a pyramid check as well. You know, I feel really good for these runners having mirror before they go to pod, though.
Yes. Now, I wish that AceMcBadass kept Eastern to the side, but...
And he's definitely not going to bother with that vanilla heart piece.
We've already seen Graveyard Ledge. It was a bid 20.
Oh yeah, I forgot the Mire area is still available to us, so we're going to get the Mire Hut on the left. We'll probably also see them jump into Desert at some point, and probably Checkerboard Cave before that, but our medallion for Mire is going to be Bombos, which is available now. Without boots or hookshot, though, we can't really get in there. And there it is! We have Hammer and Red Mail in the Mire Hut. This is an amazing development for AceMcBadass, because werfjig's got to go get the half magic. He's going to go check out Catfish, but where is he going to go next? We have a couple of different locations we can head to. I think Misery Mire area makes a lot of sense, but you may have forgotten since we got the flute so long ago.
Yeah, it only just dawned on me that these runners that Mire's been open this whole time. Completely. Oh, he didn't check it. And he has Bombos. It's a pendant, but it's completable.
Do you mean Mire or Desert Palace?
Mire and Desert. They're both pendants, and they're both completable. Oh, dear.
No, I think the only thing we're missing is just a way to get into Mire, because we have Bombos for the door.
Oh, right. We need both.
You know, though, if they
Something
can hover, though.
No, you need boots for hovering.
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah,
Aw,
which
man.
you can just bonk over the hole anyway.
We're trying to find the craziest ways people can get places in progression.
Look, there was a seed, yes.
We're dreamers.
The 12 p.m. seed today already was the seed of this was already the glitch seed. You can skip 2 progression items by glitching.
That sounds a little bit broken.
Yep. Fake flip to ice and hover mold arm 2.
Man, I love fake flip.
You also had to hover the rest of GT on the left side, but you know.
Look, if you can't hover all the way to Trinex, out of my face. I saw Scrivo try to do that. That was pretty crazy. In the meantime, though, AceMcBadass has a lot more health and a lot better armor walking into Thieves Town, so he's going to finish this up.
We're going to see a pod play from werfjig. And this one's the most logical one, although like none of the dungeons we can complete except for pendants.
Well, so now that we know where Hammer is, and it makes sense for AceMcBadass to be checking this now that he has Hammer, he can do the whole check. werfjig is going to be in a rough spot. I mean, we don't have Lamp, we don't have Hammer. There's only so much to check here. Without Bow, I mean, there's a really good chance we're going to nope out of here real fast. Alright, so we're going to find out from this first chest here what this kind of dungeon looks like. I'm not sure exactly, been a little bit since I looked at the key logic, but we definitely don't want to see that big key. Alright, well, that was Palace of Darkness, folks. Hope you enjoyed your stay. All right, so Thieves Town, AceMcBadass is making his way through. Had no real problems with the hellway. Has bombed open the hole. Werfjig, however, is about to find that hammer. So our racers, while they've been taking some different pathing here, have for the most part made it to the same places in relatively similar order. So in chat, we're asking about what big key in the first chest of Palace of Darkness means. I mean, what it actually means is, BK just stands for big key. But as far as what that means for our runners, the logic of which doors you can open with certain keys, you need that big key to get to the later the later part of the dungeon just to even get to the basement. But as far as the rest of the dungeon goes, you need a certain amount of small keys in order to progress. If you don't find one there, you're gonna have to have a
silver's in a chest that Werfjig might not go back to.
That's a big deal.
That is like a good minute or two difference depending on execution of silverless.
And then, of course, the relative safety in Gan's Tower. We have a boot-locked heart piece. Could be Sankart.
That's a big key. We're going to have to go back for the small key.
And as Werfjig checks that big key chest, AceMcBadass is going to work on the blind fight. Doesn't look like he's having too much trouble, but the phase of the fight is getting a little bit chaotic. These heads have been spinning around the room for a while now, so they start kind of getting a little bit more aggressive. It's every fourth shot that you get hit by, or that actually tracks Link's position. So he's going to use the blue cane here. Very smart decision. Well, we've checked the first half of Desert Palace, not opting to complete it. It is, after all, a pendant. Or no, we're going to take the mirror over to Checkerboard Cave. Check that for now. In the meantime, looks like AceMcBadass is about to check the Peg Cave. We have a shield available to Werfjig here in the Checkerboard Cave. I'm sure Ace over here really wishes he had a set of boots right now, because it's really painful to hammer those individually.
Yeah. And just red rupee.
And now that Werfjig's palette has changed with the with the male upgrade, it kind of messes some of the color sprites in some of those guards. So Link shares his color palette with a couple of different enemies in the game. You'll notice that, depending on the sprites being used.
Huh, I thought the sprites weren't able to mess with that. We now have access to all of Dark Death Mountain, including all of Turtle Rock. Just realized, depending on the medallion.
Yeah, now that we have that hammer, I mean, we definitely want to see the hookshot. The hookshot's probably the easiest way to get through everything, but despite being a bit roundabout, both of our runners seem to realize, yeah, hey, I have all of Death Mountain available to me now. Might as well check it.
Now, we also might have all of ice available, depending on the layout. Hookshot's not necessarily required for anything in the dungeon, depending on where the keys lie, what's on Cold Stair.
Sure is nice to have half magic and bombos, though. Our runners could absolutely just use magic to fight Cold Stare at this point. Well, I mean, despite the difference in silvers, it really looks like our runners are absolutely neck and neck at the moment.
They both kind of made the same decision at the same time.
Kind of funny how that works out. There appears to be separation for a really long time, and then all of a sudden, quite literally one screen over. We do see some divergence, though. werfjig's going to check the spiral cave.
This is... Either of these plays are fine. Oh, and it is open.
We had a 1 in 6 chance of what we like to call medallion go mode, where you just don't need any other medallions. But wow, I mean, that's... Holy smokes.
1 in 3.
Oh, right, because Meyer's a pendant. You're right.
Yeah.
I was a little confused by that, but we do have the 1 in 6 chance being fulfilled of having both dungeons that are medallion locked being available at one. So, you know, good luck in both fronts. If they have to go into Meyer for any reason, they'll have no problems.
Where are you going? No, you didn't. Yeah, okay. So, for rewatching the VOD for AceMcBadass, you can't just walk into that hole you jumped away from, and it's much faster to grab these super money chests. With 512 people in the tournament, not everyone's going to know everything about the game.
And definitely great advice by Zelnus to rewatch the VOD. If you've had any races in this... Oh, wow. We found the D.
Oh, that's pretty big, actually.
But to continue that thought, if you are racing in any of these tournaments, whether this or NMG or anything else, highly recommend you rewatch your VODs. Not every commentary is going to be as expert at this as Zelnus is, for example, but you will definitely find out where you messed up.
Okay, so right here, right now, we have a repeat of the 12 p.m. seed that I saw. We are in Go mode, actually. My Sans Hoodshot. The Hoodshot can be GT.
Oh, okay, so Schrodinger's Go mode then.
We know that we need the Hoodshot, unless randomly one of these new players can hover. Hovering is not a thing that should be practiced early by players. I know that there was a lot of memes during Key Sanity because everyone was learning Hammer Jump, which is an actually infinitely good. Okay, both runners jump down here instead of just walk into the chests. So hopefully these runners watch back and they learn that they can actually just use that entrance. It is faster. It's not a big deal. It's just like, I mean, you gotta take your time, sees where you can grab them.
And you made a very good point about the hammer jump, as we like to call it. The bomb jump in the Palace of Darkness big key chest room is pivotal. If you can learn that, you are going to have a huge advantage where you won't have to worry about the lamp. You may potentially be able to skip a progression item by doing that. So you can get some pretty hefty advantages doing it.
Yeah, versus hovering, which
6 seconds optimal.
Yeah. Also, we don't have boots, so I guess we can't hover anyway. So even the glitched runners of this game won't be able to.
I think Andy would find some way. And Patty would be right behind him, telling him he's a cheat for it. While our runners have checked Turtle Rock, we have not seen an entrance to Turtle Rock yet, and it looks like werfjig's going to nope the heck away from that.
I would have done Turtle Rock.
You know, it's kind of tough because, I mean, with that bow, you know, you kind of wonder, hey, is this pointing me towards Palace of Darkness? But, I mean, you're right there. There's no reason not to at least check the first, section of Turtle Rock.
I mean, with the way... So, a lot of runners seem to really, really put Turtle Rock last. Like, they will do everything to avoid doing Turtle Rock. This is basically a logical, error by some people. It's only a minute to climb up here, and if your go mode is in Turtle Rock, and you're already up Turtle Rock, you may as well just complete it because it's much faster to go mode every other dungeon, especially when we have Ice Palace on the menu here.
And it's so common that we find just the randomest things. I mean, we see Lamp in the roller room all the time. Obviously, we don't have Hookshot to get there right now, but there's a decent chance that they can still get through the Poke Room and Chain Chomp Room and still find a couple more items back there.
Yeah, just Lantern to be what holds them back. But the dark room, there's only one dark room there, and is honestly easier than the dark room in Pod by plenty of degrees.
Hold down to win.
Yeah, well, it's like hold down, then right, then down, then left. There's also visual cues, unlike the turtle room, which has absolutely no visual cues.
Yeah, I watched a race yesterday where somebody did turtle room blind, and I don't know how anybody can deal with that. I would throw my controller.
I just hide in a corner and smash my hammer button until and then every once in a while move forward to hit them where I've memorized how far they go basically. They go
smart,
a set distance. You just sit in a corner and wait for them.
I saw an attempt at using Quake as well, but I feel like that's a little harder to plan out.
Yes, that could work. You can also just let them hit you a bunch. They'll just like huddle on you. That's another good way.
Good point.
If you just wait in the corner for them and then hammer and you have Quake, you can just do that too. Oh, green bottle's not too bad.
How convenient.
Yeah. Which, funny enough, if you haven't played the vanilla game in ages, when you pick up a magic item, you get a full refill of magic. Every magic item does it. That's how you get out of that cave in when you're playing casually, or I guess in 100%. Because there's no save and quit in a speedrun. When you get that cane, you will have used all of your magic with cape to get there, and then with cane, you just like run. So this is a little interesting tidbit. They took that out of Randomizer. I believe the reasoning is it actually made it way too easy. Like if you got your magic refill every time you found a new magic item, it made too many things trivial.
And that makes a lot of sense because, I mean, you know, at that point, you don't have to risk anything. You know, you just hope that you're going to pick up an item, and in all likelihood, with as many magic items as there are, you'd be getting magic refills all the time. Green potions would be meaningless.
Yeah, and that was the main thing. It's like basically, once you have the fire rod, you just abuse it until you find the ice rod. Then you go back to abusing the fire rod. Then you find the cane of burnout, and then you go back to abusing. You basically just abuse the fire rod a lot. I believe is what you would do. Now both winners doing the same thing. Both winners avoiding Turtle Rock.
So we might get an opportunity to see a bomb jump out of werfjig here. I mean, we still don't have that lamp.
Mm-hmm.
Big key was the first key of the dungeon.
I'll be curious to see if he knows how to do the bomb, or knows how to do it or not. Or just knows how to do the dark room.
And then, of course, there is still remaining the top bomb strat, so we aren't sure just yet what we're going to see.
Mm-hmm. Top bomb. Starting from the top gives you more time.
I didn't find that out until about a week ago, and let me tell you, my mind just blown. Well, Ace has an extra advantage in this dungeon. The silver arrows are going to make the Helmosaur King fight a lot easier.
And no, he's not comfortable with dark room, so he's out.
So, interesting thing about that, I mean, it could possibly mean that, you know, Hookshot could be in that dark maze or in that big key, and we might be looking for lamps somewhere else. If that were the case and Ace knows how to do dark rooms, that could be a big advantage for him here. On some level, I have to think that werfjig's hoping that he'll find either the lamp or the hookshot here in Eastern. That way, you know, when he goes back to Palace of Darkness, no big deal. You just got to get through it.
Oh, we're seeing Worklid doing this dark room, which I find very difficult. Oh, right, fire on. I actually have a way of doing that fairly consistently without. If you want an easy way to do it, and you don't have the fire rod, as long as you got, even without your sword, you can do it this way. If you just hold your sword out, quote unquote sword, hold your hand out by pressing B, Move up very slightly in the room, and then hold right, and just start firing your arrow up. You'll hit a few of the popos, but eventually you'll hit the mimic, and then you just walk up to the mimic and trigger him, and you'll be able to track where he is because the arrow will be stuck in him.
Yeah,
how I
that's
always
true.
do
You
that,
still
right?
can see that in the dark. I always thought that was funny.
Yep. It's a very consistent way.
Well, it didn't take too long to get through Eastern. Werfjig's on the Armos fight, has lots of arrows to spare. A little slow to get to the top left one, so we're just going to have an enraged Armos to finish off here, but this should be easy. Well, we haven't found anything important to be locked behind boots so far. I got the feeling right now that we're either going to find these boots very soon or they're going to be in Gan's Tower. I don't think this is going to be like a, 2 or 3 dungeons from now kind of thing. It's either locked for the rest of the seed or, we're going to find it quick. Because at this point, we're really only looking for the hookshot. I mean, hookshot and lamp are definitely high on the order. I think our runners, for the most part, can deal with dark rooms. I think they want to avoid it. So, that hookshot being found will make the boots much less relevant, for the items that are hidden behind them. With that, though, Werfjig's going to head into the Crystal Ice Palace. This would be an interesting dungeon to see. Without that hookshot, we're pretty much forced to full clear so far.
Yeah. It's really going to depend on what's in this first chest. Now we're going to see 2 different locations from these guys. So with that, it's really going to have to be the big key in the next chest.
Looks like AceMcBadass is going to check Desert here.
Hookshot could be on Ped, but we need to find the boots for that to be possible.
Well, so you mentioned before about the big key being the next chest. It sounds like you're pretty familiar with the Ice Palace key logic. Why would big key being the next chest be important?
Because it would also require the small key to be on the lonely chest or in the big chest itself, and then once you have that, then Cold Stare is technically possible, and then you would have Cold Stare would probably drop a key in that case, which would then require you to go back to the dungeon.
Well, it looks like we're going to get the moment of truth here.
This is the only dungeon that can require you to mirror and or kill Cold Stare and then redo the dungeon. It's the only dungeon that requires the possibility, logically, of going back. Now, sequence breaks completely change that. Okay, so now this changes a lot. Without any keys, Cold Stare is a sequence break. Obviously, I mean, we're doing this.
And so this would require our runners to come back into the dungeon at this point.
You can also go back for the lonely chest by climbing back upstairs. So you can go back through the big key and small key door.
Yeah, interesting thing about that for those of you at home, you can actually walk backwards through doors, so to speak. You can have a door that's locked in front of you as you walk out of it. So our runners could head right back up the stairs to explore more of the dungeon. We're going to opt to kill Cold Stare, though. We need this crystal anyway. With the fire rod, no problems whatsoever. Half magic makes this a very easy fight. In the meantime, it looks like Ace is, I'm not exactly sure, might be trying to swim to pod. I'm not sure what he's trying to do here. Ah, just taking a shortcut to Ice Palace, okay. Well, in a sense, it looks like werfjig's actually got a pretty healthy advantage here. I think he might be counting on finding that hookshot later, though. If that hookshot's in Turtle Rock, for example, he's way ahead.
Or the lamp, which would then let them do their dark rooms that they're missing. They do need the lamp and the boots for pedestal to be a thin, and it could still be a thin.
That's an interesting flute. I'm not exactly sure what that was all about. Do you know if werfjig was the one who checked Spike Cave? He might be heading for that.
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Yeah, not having the book, I mean, we did all of Hera. That's got to be what he's doing.
Okay.
Oh, no, wait, he doesn't have hookshot.
Oh. For future reference, definitely try to avoid using Bombos anytime you can. It is a very slow animation.
Certainly worthwhile against Cold Stare if you don't have half magic, but in this situation, I mean, Fire Rod works just the same. It's fast. In general, your medallions are not very good items to use unless, you know, you're really struggling with a room. Well, so we know what everything on Death Mountain is so far. We obviously don't have Hookshot Cave yet. Although there is one item that if we had boots, we'd be able to check, so we're still waiting on either of those in order to make any kind of check there. It would be pretty interesting to find a book at this point.
Yes. Because then we could check pedestals and tablets. AceMcBadass having a tough room with the conveyor. Having a tough time with the conveyor belt room.
Yeah, it looked like he got carried away there. Alright, I really gotta work on my puns. We do get the Turtle Rock play, though. This is interesting. werfjig here is going to at least check what he can. I was mistaken before about the hookshot being required early on here. You actually don't need it to do that torch room, so we could get a check of that room as well.
Releasing his fairy so that he doesn't have to do the respawn. Which is good, because I think if he got hit by the bomb, he would fall in. So he needs to do this, but he's doesn't have the pixels right. A good resource to have is just a picture of the Ice Palace bomb jump available if you're not super comfortable with it.
So which lineup do you use? Do you line up all the way to the far left, or do you go a pixel or two in?
I always try to get to the far end, but I know all of them. So I just depend on there. He is going to hit the switch here, and he's going to just do the dungeon. Which is fine. He just... Hookshot's going to have to be in the... There's one chest Hookshot can be in still. So we'll see if it's there. Okay.
Also, we have one medallion in the big key from Turtle Rock so far. I mean, we can progress because we have that pokey key as well to work with, so I don't see any reason not to dive further in. That's a very smart play by werfjig there to use the fire rod on that pokey. Those pokies can bounce around. They're a nightmare to deal with in NMG. Definitely recommend, using fire rod if you have the magic.
Yeah, and sword beans in this room also help out a lot. There's another small key.
Come to think of it, we do have Mimic Cave available to us.
Yep. And we have all of Turtle Rock, minus the... Hopefully, if they can do the Dark Room, which it's looking like they can just do the Eastern and Old Man, which is pretty normal. Generally recommended to learn those before racing, as well as the Ice Palace Bomb Jump. Okay, that's just a... Yeah, so with this, we can move along with the small key we have. But at this point, there are no other chests that are available without bomb jumps. You can bomb jump the next room over, up here.
I think it might be about to try.
You might. Kind of have to. You get locked in.
Ooh, I never thought about it before, but I wonder if werfjig can handle the laser bridge skip without boots.
Well, he has half magic and Tane. And
right.
I believe. So this one you have to be... This one, the only access that really matters is how low you are. And you have to be right up at the bottom there. Bottom right corner.
That looks good. Ooh.
Nope. Not even close. you have to put the bomb as low as possible. And then go to the right corner and you should get through it. It's not the easiest bomb jump, but it's a lot easier than than the actual Ice Palace bomb jump.
Alrighty, folks. Moment of truth. What does the trolliest cave in the game have for us today? Well, nothing too significant here, so we are going to get a big key check, or big chest check here in Turtle Rock, and then we get to find out whether or not werfjig feels good about dark rooms.
Okay, a small key there. And we really need to find this hook shot. Or the lantern for these runners. Lantern could still be in roller room. Moment of truth, sort of.
What are those?
Pedestal is open. We can complete pedestal if we find the lantern before the hook shot.
With that in mind, I mean, it's an hour and a half in, but now that we have the boots, the run can start, right?
Yeah. Okay, interesting thing. The lantern can be on pedestal, and the hook shot could be on laser bridge. Getting this first one here, I swear, is the hardest part of this. After you get this, it's easy.
If that were true about Lamp and Hookshot, then werfjig here making the dark room would be a huge advantage if AceMcBadass didn't.
Okay, well, we're through.
Well, we have 4 chances here. Interestingly enough, he will actually try for the laser skip. It's a pretty precise input, so you have to actually hit up to move towards the chest in a very small window. At this point, I think it'd probably be best if we could just remember the Cane of Burna here.
Yeah.
Or the
with
cape.
the green pod and all that. Okay, will we find the hook shot here? And no, but it could be on Trinex.
Yeah, pretty smart to take this safety door just so that you can do the death warp here. I mean, you're gonna end up with more health anyway. Don't get any magic refill, but we do have.
Never mind. Pet is dead. We forgot about Lantern. It's required. Lantern can't be on Pet. Whoops. Pet is dead because Hookshot and Lantern are what we need, and both those are behind pendants as our pendant requirements.
That being said, though, we can still have a lot of trolley locations when it comes to both the hookshot and the lamp, though, so that's still alive. Maybe not the pedestal itself, but plenty of possibilities out there.
Okay, and we're gonna fight Triad. It's pretty simple fight with the equipment we have.
Well, moment of truth. Well, no such luck on a Trinex today, so we have a couple of pendant dungeons to be looking at, don't we?
We do. Swamp could have it. Meyer now could have it.
Yeah, Meyer just became available.
Yeah, thanks to the boots. We can also check this one chest here in Hookshot Cave.
Oh, and those boots were not lamp locked, so that's interesting. Ace was having a little bit of trouble with the pokies there. Definitely one of the reasons that I recommend having the fire rod to use against them. I think werfjig for a second there thought he had all the crystals, though. That was probably a little bit of a weird moment.
Oh. Nope, still gotta go do pod. You did decide to opt out of that one. It's still, again, very possible that the hookshot is in GT. But for these runners, they seem to want the lamp.
So let's just imagine that that's the case, and that we actually are going to find hookshot in GT. I mean, how many dungeons do you think these guys are going to check before they go there?
The statistically best play is to go to GT, I think. But it's actually not 22 chests that you have access to like you do in the past. So like if you have all of GT and you're looking for like the Cane of Samaria, you got like 18 chests, but in this case you don't. You really have to make that decision to go to GT, but that is a gamble in this case when it normally isn't. It's usually the best play.
And not only that, but neither of our runners have jumped back into Swamp Palace since getting the hammer, so I mean there's still some locations there.
I'll tell you where Fleet is gonna get his silvers. I'm thinking that's where he's going.
And
he
Ace
never did do this one chest. this lap is definitely getting to our runners. Oh no. Oh, maybe Hammerpad's earthing too. Big 20 is chilling down there though. He'll be able to dash them though, so that's nice.
Ah, yes, the Hammer Dash, the song of my people. And of course, we're immediately checking everything we can dash. So King's Tomb is probably next on the list. Ace gonna head right up there next. And there it is. AceMcBadass entered go mode at 1 hour and 36 minutes. Obviously, we still want that lamp, but as of right now, he can actually, if he can do dark rooms, get through everything.
Okay, well, there we go. I mean, it's a soft go mode. It might take him a bit to do this dungeon here, but... Oh, no, it looks like he's looking for the lamp. He is not comfortable.
Yeah, the go mode call might have been a little
swap.
premature. Yeah. Sorry, folks.
Well, he honestly, he's in a form of go mode. I mean, you're not entirely wrong. Again, with the varied skill level of this, it's not guaranteed like in past turns. Well, pretty much everyone's gonna know how to at least feel their way through a dark room. Well, that's not the case anymore. And that's totally fine. I love it that there's so many different people in the tournament this time around.
Yeah, it's been growing tremendously, and the viewers out there, if you guys are interested in trying out, Zelda 3 Randomizer, by all means, pick it up. Tournaments are only getting bigger.
Now, don't expect a completely open tournament again. I don't know if we're going to have one of these where everybody will get in, but definitely learn, get good. We have some new runners who just showed up and were very good. We had the last match of the last week. Showed one of the runners completely unknown doing very well.
Speaking of which, we had a very competent 2-cycle Lamos 2 using the Fire Rod from werfjig. Gonna pick up the pendant. Didn't really get anything worth the trouble though, so a little bit of a time sink. Might be hedging the bet against the pedestal, but that's a bad gamble at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Ace, however, does have a pretty decent shot at finding lamp here. Now that we have the hook shot and it was behind boots, which was not lamp locked, this does make logical sense.
Yep.
So that technically makes the Hazrul a potential holder of the lamp, doesn't it?
It does.
Man, that's all kinds of messed up. Well, the more I look at this, the more it really seems like the hefty advantage goes to werfjig here. I mean, so many more dungeons completed.
Okay. Where is the lamp in Swamp Palace going to be? This could determine a lot.
Yeah, I believe chat's pointing out that I don't think werfjig did pick up the hook shot. Am I wrong about that?
He does not have it.
Yeah, so
He went here before.
that's a time sink here, but I think he's hoping that it's going to be here. He could find the lamp instead, and that would still be a net win for him because he does have a big dungeon.
It would send him back to it would send him to where the hook shot is not. It might send him all the way to GT. So I don't know if that's a net win necessarily.
Well, he still has to do Palace of Darkness, right?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, so that really could be... Oh, wow.
Well, he might be willing to do the dark rooms. Is the thing. So he might do pod and then go to GT, and then he'll have all the options available to him.
So let's just say the worst happens. I mean, you know, we find the lamp here. We go all the way to Ganon's Tower. I mean, he's going to make it all the way to Moldorm 2 before... Or the room before Moldorm 2.
Yep.
Before really realizing it.
At which point he pulls out the hover tutorial and prays he has a controller it's good enough on.
Yeah, I mean, at that point. Speaking of that, that's actually something that people who aren't used to racing online might not be familiar with. It's completely fine in most communities to have a tutorial video up on a technique or something like that while you're racing. You just can't be like, you know, watching the restream or anything like that. You know, for
that's
randomizer,
that's a
that
rando
matters.
thing. Yeah, for rando you can't watch your opponent, but you can do whatever else you want. Also can't watch the restream.
But yeah, lots of people in the past have absolutely pulled up like a quick tutorial video on how to do like Ice Palace bomb jump. If you're in a spot and you need to do a trick, I mean, by all means, do it.
Absolutely. Okay, will Hookshot be in this back half?
Do you mean lamp instead? But so with this, I mean, Ace just needs to basically just run right to the back, check those chests downstairs. I mean, we're probably not going to fight Argus. But then again, he pretty much has to. I mean, that green pennant's still on the table, so that's strange. Yeah, so we're having some discussion in the chat about, you know, where hookshot is necessary. I mean, if you can skip an item because you can do a permissible minor glitch, you're not required to get that item. So a lot of times people do that. I mean, we go lampless in a lot of seeds. Hookshot's the same deal. I mean, if you can save that 6 seconds in Moldorm 2, you know, no one's telling you have to use it. I would never do it personally, though, because, you know, who wants to do Ganon without hookshot? In the meantime, though, Ace making a quick approach towards Argus. I have a very sneaking suspicion that we're not going to see an attempt on a zero-cycle Argus, but we did forget the key back there, so he's going to have to swim back. I don't know whose bright idea was to give water a conveyor effect, but let me tell you something. This stream is not easy to swim up.
No, it is not.
Miyamoto, please. Ace is probably really happy to have Tempered right now, though. He can get these done a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, only 1 slash required. No 2 slash, no spins, no menus. Never do menu. Unless you have a sword.
Yeah, I would not want to deal with Fighter Sword. Fighter Sword's a tough fight. Then Argus actually is challenging. Looks like Ace wanted to get a silver arrow for swag, but should probably just do a spin slasher by now. And it appears that werfjig is also going to check the basement chest, having missed that earlier, so werfjig will actually get those silvers.
Yeah, green pendant's down.
Well, I gotta think that's the next place you go right after this, right? And with that, we get a flute, probably the right to 5. Alrighty, folks, what do you think Sarsaparilla has today? Is it going to be the lamp? Is it going to be a big 20? Stay tuned, folks.
I just hope the AceMcBadass takes the. So there's a torch in the total room, and that makes it pretty much free to do once you hit it. He has head magic, so you can just like throw it around.
Alright, so Saharsha Larsh only has a heart container for us, so Swamp Palace a dud move here. So Ice Palace, you think he's going back for the crystal or try and find that lamp?
That's a good question. Probably gonna do both now, based on his current routing. He does need the stress stall, so that is nice.
I don't believe we've seen all the items in here yet, have we?
I don't believe so. No, I think we've only seen the green rupee.
Other exciting news, though, we're going to get our first look at Misery Mire. I gotta think at this point, this being the only untouched dungeon, there's a pretty good chance that Lamp could also be here.
Yep, can be in any of the chests. Any of the chests. Can't be on Vitreous, though.
It's too bad Pet is dead. We had an opportunity at some vanilla strats against Vitreous here. So it has been brought up in chat that the best way that we can obstruct logic for our runners here is probably with the book. That's going to be the one thing that'll lead them on a goose chase. We could also potentially have the book lead to mushroom or vice versa, and that'd be pretty bad. All right, well, Misery Mire not being too exciting yet, Ace is going to try to carefully route his way through the dungeon, having to remember that the pegs do matter at this point. With that hook shot, though, everything becomes a little bit easier. Well, I'm sure werfjig's happy to find the big key a little bit early, but unfortunately, since we still need that lamp, we are not going to stop checking there.
Correct. So we'll see where we can find this lamp. So this is a race for the lamp for our runners. Now, normally we'd be all going, but not today.
All right, well, Ace is going to get the big key chest here. Both of these runners are about to head to their respective big key chests. Finding an actual vanilla big key in the vanilla or the ice palace, as I like to say it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why we do the bomb jump, because particularly in NMG, there's just so much time it takes to get there. And we have it.
Oh!
So AceMcBadass entering
In
true
go
go
mode.
mode
Yeah.
at 150. So that's quite a development. I mean, werfjig here has a very hefty dungeon advantage, but AceMcBadass is also in Ice Palace that werfjig already got the crystal for, who is going to full clear everything he can probably before going back there, I have to imagine. At this point, he could still werfjig could still be going back to Swamp Palace, could be going back to Palace of Darkness. Wouldn't be a bad idea, but then he might make the Ganon's Tower play without Lamp, and that could be catastrophic for him if he needs it to get through Palace of Darkness first anyway. And that mushroom find isn't good either, because at this point, he's going to save and quit, and now going to try to see what's there. So, I mean, on the bright side, Misery Mire, that was everything that could have been in there that wasn't Lamp. So, I mean, this makes sense, but is he going to go to Ice Palace? I think he's probably going to go to Swamp Palace first.
Yeah. Still got to chip these spots. So he's finally going to get his hook shot. Also, who knows? Maybe he'll just brute force his way through the pod dark room and finish the game once he gets this.
That would definitely be the one thing that's going to put him back into this is, back into the progression race, the smoothest for him. If he can pull off one or two really difficult dark rooms, then he still has a hefty advantage over Ace. But right now, Ace has the competitive advantage of having Pod and Eastern Palace fully clearable, fully accessible in the same go. And Ice Palace, he's finishing up in a moment. Turtle Rock, he could complete on the way to Ganon's Tower, so there's a chance here. Thankfully, Werf does find the hook shot. That's important. Oh, wow. So we are back at Death Mountain.
Okay. I guess chicken hook shot cave. So he is looking for the lamp.
Yeah, I was wondering why he'd be coming back up here. So yeah, it's got to be Hookshot Cave. That's exactly right. Ace using his noggin, remembering that he has the cane to Samaria. Great call. So I'm trying to think, I mean, what can we find at Hookshot Cave that would be useful? I think Ace already checked it all, though. Yeah, so we're not going to find anything of value there.
Okay, will we see... I really just want to see one of them brute force the dark room. But I understand if they're not comfortable, then that's rough. We'll see where he flies here, either to 5 or 8. Or to 4, maybe. But... And it is to 4.
Welp, that's rough. I mean, did just get the hook shot, so I can see why you'd make the play. But this is going to lead him all the way to Argus and then to Sahasrara, so this is a huge time sink. A lot of time for Ace to catch back up.
Yep. Ace still has a lot of dungeons to do, but he'll be doing them in go mode. I mean, these aren't the best dungeons to go mode, but And he's already done most of Eastern, so.
So I guess at this point, this is a race on one side to get Lamp, on the other side to execute faster than he can get Lamp.
And now we're just repeating stats. We got Ace in a go mode, not the fastest. He's got to do all these dungeons that he's dipped.
I think for a moment there, Ace realized he wanted to hit the switch before doing that.
Probably.
But absolutely has the opportunity to check the Dark Maze, so I think he will. He might not realize that he needs to catch up at this point. That lamp location certainly would make it feel like both you and your opponent probably took a while to find it. Oh, I forgot he didn't even have the keys to get into the dark room. Okay, so that's why he went down here.
Oh.
Well, we do have the key. We need to go downstairs, so at this point, gonna forego the dark maze, it looks like. Definitely a wise decision here. And at that moment, werfjig had to decide, hey, am I going to go to Argus? You know, am I going to risk it? There's still that item. And he's absolutely going to, because that green pendant just... The last thing you want to do is go into Swamp twice. And if you already have to go in there twice, you don't want to go there 3 times.
Agreed. This has been a rough seed for the skill level of our runners.
Lots to learn from...
Yeah, I was about to say, they can learn a lot, though. You can always learn more in Randomizer.
Honestly, it feels a lot like watching my first NMG race. Our runners overall have been doing really well with their bosses, though. Yeah, definitely using the right tools for the situations. Ooh, sniping that silver arrow on the second bounce. I didn't expect that to work, but nicely done by werfjig and AceMcBadass. We get simultaneous boss fights here. And of course, if you didn't know, back at home, it takes 17 hammer hits to knock off this shell, and we're just going to take 1 silver arrow to that gem in the face. Normally it would take 8 master sword slashes, but we have a tempered sword, so it'd be even less than that.
Also, like 5 bombs.
Yeah, very strange. And that's actually the way I learned it growing up, but
That's the way it was intended to be done. Or at least probably, since in A Link Between Worlds, the Palace of Darkness, like equivalent boss, is, as far as I know, only killable with bombs. The first part. Also, there's our book.
Fetch quest leading to fetch tree.
Yeah. So that's just an interesting little fact. If you didn't know that.
And you know, it's funny because they call him the Gemosaur King because he has all those rupees.
Yeah.
I think it's probably one of my best. Link Between Worlds, if you guys haven't played it, fantastic Zelda game. Same game world, basically. Wonderful experience if you like this game.
Yeah, it's got a lot of interesting twists. Like, there's only one dungeon in the desert mire area, and it's a mire. Well, it's desert and mire combined. You go through the light and dark world area. It's a very neat dungeon design. Most of it's outdoors, similar to the Skull Woods. Cold Stare is still the worst.
Yeah,
Replaced with Dark Stare. The difficulty coming from actually the fact that every other boss you fight by cheesing the wall mechanic, and then suddenly they give you a boss with no walls, and you go, oh, I forgot how to play the video game.
they made the equivalent to Trinex a very difficult fight as well.
Yep.
We do have one update though. We found Book from our drug deal at the Witch's Hut, so that's
that.
rough. Oh no, I'm saying I missed that, but I'm saying that's
okay.
interesting because we now have 3 different locations we're gonna check.
Yeah.
So that's going to give Ace a little bit of extra time, and he's already done with Palace of Darkness. He's going to be done with Eastern shortly. Running up to Turtle Rock, I mean, at this point, werfjig really needs to find this lamp. Not going to find what he's looking for there, heading right for the ether tablet. He must be absolutely certain that this is how he's going to get his lamp. Will be very disappointed when he checks pedestal next, if he does. And with that, Eastern Palace is down. AceMcBadass on an absolute tear. The nice thing about having the Turtle Rock be his next dungeon is he's already cleared a fair amount of it, so he can just run right through. I mean, there's not a whole lot that's going to slow him down here and out.
I really hope AceMcBadass goes to pod. Or sorry, Werfjig goes to pod soon.
Yeah, either that or Ice Palace, but we really don't see Ice Palace being likely.
Yeah, he's already done Ice Palace, the first part of Ice Palace. Oh, he's doing it! No, he's not. He's going to Eastern area. But you've already done the boss.
Oh, I don't think he's turned in Green Pendant yet.
Oh, okay.
Ace getting a little bit more security, which is actually a pretty good play right now because he's going to have a very strong advantage if he doesn't die here on out. I'm willing to bet he didn't love getting that heart container.
Probably not.
Rage Slash is probably indicating that pretty well. On the bright side, though, I think he realizes that Ice is the only thing he didn't completely full clear.
There it is. He's on his way.
Now, that's an interesting development. I mean, if he'd already finished Palace of Darkness, it'd be a moot point, but depending on how long it's going to take him to get through Pod and finish off Helmasaur, I mean, I think he's going to figure out where he's going for this lamp pretty fast. I mean, he knows exactly what he's already done in here. So this is now a race between Ace and Werf to figure out who can finish their dungeon faster. And then, of course, our Ganon Tower Big Key may actually be relevant here.
Ganon Tower Big Key is always relevant to the right people.
But relevant to winning or losing the seat. Ooh, Ace getting dead rocked. One thing working in werfjig's advantage, or in his favor here, is that it's not exactly super deep into the dungeon to get the lamp. I mean,
Correct.
You just gotta know where you're going.
If he goes straight left after the bomb jump area, he'll be fine.
Oof, that's a laggy room. Holy smokes. Just for reference, folks, that room with the 2 Stalfos Knights is easily one of the laggiest rooms in the entire game. So if you can get that fast kill, you're saving yourself a lot of, well, pain and frustration. You're also some time, because not only is it faster, but you don't have to sit there watching it wondering, like, why in the world did I miss that bomb? Well, Ace is already pretty much halfway through Turtle Rock, shortly approaching the Dark Room, which he now no longer has to worry about. It's now the Lamped Room. werfjig very close to the lamp himself. Seemingly knowing exactly where it is, so yep.
There it is.
And at 2 hours and just about 6 minutes, we have go mode for werfjig as well.
Yep, we are on our way. werfjig's a much quicker dungeon, but I believe, yeah, and the big Q is in the first chest, so he's going straight to the boss in this case. So they might actually be very, very close going into GT.
As far as I can tell, the only advantage really here is that Ace is already on Death Mountain, but beyond that,
that's about a minute. That's about a minute advantage. It depends on how quickly he kills Trinets. If he's able to do the Trinets in one go, he'll be fine.
Looks like he's going to opt for a safety door here, but with all the blue potions, I'm wondering if this is really... Oh, well, yeah, he has the key, though, so yeah, he doesn't really need to be down here at all. However, he doesn't have a fairy to fall back on, so this is definitely a safe way to go. Well, folks, if you tuned in for a pretty tight race, stay tuned. There's still a lot here to go, but we're about to head against Tower soon. We just got a couple boss fights. This is tighter than I think I was expecting about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, this is starting to look not at the closest of races, but we're getting there.
Another interesting thing here is that nobody has found that last sword upgrade, so we may end up seeing that in Ganon's Tower. If somebody picks up just one chest, there could be a minute difference in the final boss fight because of that.
Got the ice head down a little bit faster than the other head, which is normal.
Well, folks, as we are approaching the end of Trinex here, this is a great time to remind everybody of our favorite game here in Hyrule. How about you tell us a little bit about the rules on this?
Well, if you can guess anything between 1 and 22, climb and you're on the way to Ganon, we need to get a key. If you are a supporter of Speed Game, which means that you're a current subscriber, donated 250 bits in at any of the channels at any point, then you can enter the leaderboard.
Yep, and just to clarify, of course, those are to enter the leaderboard, not to join the game. Obviously, you can still participate. We want to see what your best guesses are. But as far as that leaderboard goes, that's just for that. But with Ace approaching Ganon's Tower, get your guesses in because we're running short on time. What do you think it's going to be today, Zelda?
I always say 22 so that we see the whole thing.
I like that. I'm going to guess Bob as always. So in this case, if it's Dark Magician, I think that's 13.
I think it is. I think 13 is the normal number.
Numbers aside, it's going to be Bob. I have faith. Well, our previous thoughts about how far behind werfjig ended up being is actually pretty close to spot on. I mean, he enters, Ace enters Ganon's Tower pretty much right at the fanfare, so about a minute and a half difference.
Yeah, it's not looking too bad, actually. He's going to have to climb up the mountain, though, so that's another minute before he gets to enter GT.
So far, just 2 small keys on the right side. We're going to head right back to the left half.
a pretty common play. You get these first chests in these first rooms, and torch being one of them.
Also, 3 down, still haven't found anything. Four is bombs, 5 is arrows. Useful things for Ganon's tower. We don't need them that badly, though. 6 is a key, and 7 is a piece of heart. Well, Ganon's Tower is the most challenging dungeon in the game, so even with all this great equipment, it's very reasonable to say that, this race is close. Our runners could end up changing leads at any point.
I mean, it could come down to what side it's on. If it goes to the right side.
And that's 8, so, yeah, I mean, odds are actually looking a little more like that at this point.
And he's about to enter GT. Now, if he finds it on the right side, that's actually going to be like 3 through 7.
Yeah, we're 9 chests through, so I guess I was wrong. I think it was chest 14, but we're going to get the randomizer room next. Ace has accidentally walked past it. Uh-oh.
Oh, that is a huge time loss. You can't get back to that chest.
Oh, no.
You can't get back there without going all the way back around.
So there's a statistical chance or a probability here that is non-zero, and it looks like I think Ace realized it.
Oh, and Warfoot's going right.
Ace did select the mirror, so I mean I'm hoping and praying that he made the right choice there. In the meantime, Worf will walk right past the tile room, so if that's the case, then if it's in the tile room, then rip time save, but we will see what is in these 4 chests on the right side first.
Oh, he pulled those. He didn't bonk.
Yeah, with the accidental bonk, I think he realized, I just might as well redo it. Well, now it really stinks if it wasn't in the randomizer room.
Right? Oh, man. Hey, is it going to be in chest 6? Is it going to be in chest 7? Is he going to keep going? That's the other question. Is he going to go to Ice Armos? It's not right side. It could be at Ice Armos.
And if it is, then Worf is actually ahead at this point, but he mirrors.
No. It's very uncommon to see people go right side. That's a pretty uncommon play.
Yeah, because there's a fair amount of time spent going around that way once you've got those chests.
Well, it's less that people don't generally know how to get through there. It's not easy.
Alright, well, this does put Ace right back in the lead now that we haven't found it on the right side, but it's actually a much tighter gap this time around, so very interesting developments here. So if my count was right before, we were at 9. Yeah, 9 before the randomizer room, and he hasn't opened up any chests since. Hopefully this time remembering there is a crack in the wall. There we go. Well, it's either this or Ice Armos. Chest 10 is an arrow, 11 is a red rupee, 12 is the big key.
Okay.
So as it was mentioned before, you know, Ace was the first to enter, so he is the one who determines who that big key is for the purposes of our leaderboard. But the king on chest 12 does put both of them very close together right now.
Yeah, it's whoever finds the key first, not who enters first or anything.
Appreciate the correction. Ended up being the case anyway, but appreciate. Let me know. Well then, this just got a lot tighter. So Ace enters Mimics 1 at 2:15:38, and werfjig will enter probably about half a minute later.
Yeah, about that. We're not going to be too far behind entering the gauntlet.
Yeah, holy cow, we have almost exactly half a minute difference here, so stay tuned, folks. This race is heating up. Now, werfjig has quite a couple of things working for him. Ace not going for the safety here, just going to take his bottle and be ready to use it. He didn't buy the potions, though, so, I mean, I definitely see why this would be a sensible play, but it doesn't take that long to get those fairies. I'm surprised he didn't go for them.
Okay, and getting through the second round of the gauntlet, moving on to the third.
Well, one thing to consider here is that werfjig did do more dungeons in less time, so I'm wondering if he's going to have a faster ascent in some of these boss fights.
That's a good question.
Making great use of the fire rod through this gauntlet. Smart choice. Now, if we didn't have silver arrows, it'd be a little more costly to use your magic here, but, you know, plenty of things to fall back on. We have half magic. There's lots of pickups that you can use. So, as of right now, we are one room apart almost. Well, Ace falls a little short of the 3 cycle, or the 2 cycle, but werfjig is going to get a 2 cycle, barely missing a silver arrow. Or maybe 3, wow. Immediately catches up some of his time by having a better Wizrobe room than Ace does, though. Ace ended up actually missing one of his shots. Having a little more trouble with the second Wizrobe room, so this is a great example of where GT execution can really pay off. I mean, he takes a lead with that room.
Yeah, execution is a huge part of the end game here. Once you start mess up room, you just start losing time. Like every fall in this place, lots of pitfalls to take, lots of mistakes that can be made. You can waste time in a lot of places here.
Well, with just 2 rooms to spare to do it, I mean, werfjig taking the lead here. This is kind of interesting to see because, I mean, we have just tough boss fights ahead, so...
Yep.
You know,
Moldorm 2, Adunum 2, and Ganon himself. Ganon himself, honestly, a little easier.
Yeah, particularly with the equipment that they have. Gotta give props to werfjig for coming back and, you know, actually making this a race. I mean, he was way out of this for a long time. This would be quite a twist to see Ace do like a hover or something here.
Yeah. Well, if we do, then I'll be mad that they didn't go straight here.
Right.
If they know how to hover and didn't know how to actually do the bot, didn't know how to do dark rooms, I'd be a little mad that they got bamboozled by all of the overhyping of what hovering does.
Oh, this fight's really close. No, Werf.
Oh,
And
they
Ace
both
taking...
fell.
Wow. All right, folks.
They're sync up the stairs.
Synced back into Moldorm 2. This is a race yet again.
Oh boy.
Ace taking another fall, so this does give Werf another chance to take the lead again, and he does get the successful kill, so this is still moments apart, folks. Well, Ace does wrap up Moldorm 2 here, so Aghanim 2 is going to have the same RNG for both of our runners here. They might not get the exact same patterns. You know actually how that works? Is it different patterns, or is it the same blue ball RNG?
It's always the same blue ball RNG from the start, but obviously if you mess up, if you die, etc., then it continues the RNG continues to increment. So that
makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, it always starts at the same RNG. So they always move to the same spots. Same with Ganon warps. I don't know if that was 2 hits actually from Ace's side.
I mean, they came from the exact same spot, so it probably hit the same frame.
Yeah.
But our runners need 6 hits total, so werfjig is a little bit ahead here, but Ace could definitely get some solid clutch triples to make this even up.
Yep. And werfjig is now leaving. Again, execution mattering.
All right, so he is 2 cycles behind werfjig here. Depending on how we handle the first phase, we have Tempered Sword. If we can get a 1-in-1 out of either of these runners, they will probably take the lead. Tempered Sword is definitely a difficult Ganon fight. This is something you have to practice a lot just to do it in the NMG run. We need 12 slashes for the first 2 phases each in order to increment the phase. And in phase 3, we'll have just 1 slash per time he jumps. And in phase 4, we need 12 total spin slashes. However, we're going to do Silver Arrow since we have them. So the relevant part of the fight is early on here.
Yeah, not getting hit by these fireballs is a big deal. Now we have half magic, so we could brute force our way through this phase.
It looks like both of our runners had a 2-cycle first phase.
werfjig still has his red potion.
Ace does have a more favorable positioning for his second phase, but I don't think he got enough slashes, so both of our runners are going to have a 2-in-2 here. Ace takes a death. Does he have the fairy?
Oh, no, he does not. That's a big deal.
Oh, wow. I mean, I think he still has a potion or 2, though. Now, keep in mind, folks, it's very easy to fall to Ganon or just to simply have a plain death. I mean, hugging Ganon is very deadly, so this is definitely not over just yet.
Decent pattern, actually, from Ganon there to shoot his fireball without moving.
All right, we need 4
There's a
total
free
arrows.
double.
He gets 2.
Yeah. I don't think you can get the double here. Oh, he can! It doesn't move him all the way to the edge.
Wow,
So
okay.
That's werfjig. Unfortunately, that fall is what did it, I believe.
werfjig coming from a very, very difficult deficit to pull off this Ganon fight and almost fanfare snipe Ace. I mean, if that wasn't a fall or a death there, that would have been pretty much fanfare snipe.
Okay, so now that is a big deal because going 0-2 this early on, statistically, only 4 people who end up 0-2 in the tournament, 4 out of 128 people who will end up at X-2 by week 6 will win, or at any point. It's like losing 2 rounds puts you at a very statistically unlikely point to move on. You really have to stay above water in a tournament like this. Now we've already lost a few runners. We've already lost a few runners, so X-3 actually by the end of these 7 weeks may not be completely out. But the earlier you lose in Swiss, the worse that your score ends up being. So you definitely don't want to lose early.
Ooh, Ace has got to watch out for those fire bats. So when you get hit by those fire bats, it actually sends you in the opposite direction that you're holding with your D-pad. So you can actually knock yourself off the ledge if you're not careful.
Which is why you get into some of those funny situations where it looks like the bats are just like kind of throwing you in a completely random direction. It is completely fits to where you are.
This should be the last arrow.
Should be. There it is.
And with that, our runners have completed this race. It's very tight between the two. So I think at this point, we just got to try and see if we can get either of these two in for an interview.
Just checking the schedule, make sure we're not bumping up against something.
Good call. Good call.
And no, it looks like there's something else on 5. Again, Monday's always a light day. That's usually when the tournaments roll over. Interestingly, if you didn't know, starting next week, actually, in 10 days, or could be as early as next Wednesday, a new tournament is starting. If you enjoyed the Super Mario Odyssey Any Percent tournament, there is now going to be a triple bingo tournament starting in just 10 days is when the first match is currently scheduled. Thought I'd send that out. That's about as close as you'll get to a randomizer and a lot of modern platformers.
Yeah, that sounds kind of chaotic.
It adds a lot. You'd be surprised. It really does feel like a randomizer to watch a bingo. Instead, they won't be going down the same route. It's essentially a randomized route. So I'd highly recommend checking those out once that tournament gets it going.
All right, well, I'm sending a message to our runners here asking if they want an interview. In the meantime, definitely recommend you guys follow these runners. This is not the end of the tournament yet for anybody. So these runners still have a lot of great content to put out for you guys. And if you like Zelda Randomizer, Zelda in general, great people to watch for it.
Now, there's actually going to be anything started on Speed Gaming again. There's some stuff ongoing. But we got 2 matches at 12:30. So keep an eye out on those. 2 matches start at 12:30.
All right, looks like werfjig should be able to join us for an interview. I'm going to send him a quick invite.
Okay.
And it looks like we might get Ace as well, so I'm going to send them both. We should have both of them in the chat for just a moment.
Hello, werfjig. Hello, AceMcBadass. You can't hear us.
No. Microphone work.
It's working. We can hear you.
Oh. Sorry. Oh, jeez.
Hey, GG on that race. That was a heck of a comeback. You didn't get to see it from our side, but that was really close.
Hey, I saw. After I finished the race, I hopped in the channel just to see where Ace was, and oh man, that was close. I also noticed.
Actually.
Oh, I fell so many times in Tower of Hera. Like that was just an embarrassment.
No, you fell to Ganon.
Oh,
we
he
were
fell
talking
again.
about Ace, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys were within about 10 seconds of each other at that point. You did actually have a bit of a lead at that point, but the story of the seed was crazy. I mean, you were looking for that hook shot for a very long time. Ace actually did find it a little bit earlier, but you had already completed a lot of dungeons at that point.
Yeah, for me, like my biggest issue is that I can't do pod dark rooms. So even after I found the hook shot, I was, trying to find, all right, well, where can the lamp be that is not? I think I knew the only place I knew it couldn't be was the magic bat, because the lantern was locked behind, or the powder was locked behind the old man. But, man, that was a seed. I thought it couldn't get any worse than last week, but.
Well, I also want to extend that GG to AceMcBadass, who has joined us in the voice server. GG, Ace. I think Ace is here. He might not have his mic set up just yet, though.
Yeah.
Well, so I wanted to ask you. I mean, is this your second race? Did you go into this 1-0 or 0-1?
0-1. Yeah, I had a pretty bad race against Skipsy last week, and he was friendly enough to let me do an unofficial salty rollback, and I still lost, but like within a minute as opposed to like 20. But no, last week's was also just a horrible scene. I need to practice more for sure.
I have to imagine you're probably going to try and figure out the dark rooms in Palace of Darkness after this race.
Oh yes, I feel like if I could have done those dark rooms, I could have saved so much time. Just because I think after I found the hook shot, I can't remember exactly where I checked, but I actually thought about going to King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks earlier, but for some reason, because I was doing some sequence breaking, for some reason I thought that the hook shot would be locked in front of the boots. So I was like, it can't be there. And then when I finally remembered, oh, the boots were in the vertical rolling pin room before the lantern. My brain is fried right now.
Learn dark rooms.
Yes, that is the moral of the story.
Not hover. Don't take the moral of the story is to learn hover.
I don't know, man. I think my fingers are nimble enough. That's a lie. They're not.
Well, so going up 1-1 is definitely great for your tournament run. Ace is right now. I think we might actually have him back in the chat. We were having some issues with tech on our side, but with the 0-2, I mean, you need to pretty much play your heart out to win the rest of this tournament.
If you can hear me, yeah, it's not going to be fun.
Well, it's definitely fun to watch this race, though. GG.
Oh yeah, thank you. GG to you, man. That was a lot of fun. I made a lot of stupid mistakes. I learned a lot. So,
man, I'm gonna rewatch this and just watch my Hera run at the very beginning. Ever since after Hera, I was like, I'm playing behind the whole time. So, like, my heart's still beating really fast because I was like, how is it not finished yet?
yeah, the same thing. I went through Swamp looking for the lamp, and as soon as I walked in, I was like, I shouldn't be here. There's 3 other places I can check, and that's it. I lost the race. Complaints over at the chat.
I also full cleared Swamp. I didn't want to go back. So my issue was I was looking for lamp, and I dove into ice early before I had the hook shot, and I couldn't access any of the rooms on the right. So I killed Cold Snare. And I'm like, whatever. I'll come back to it if it's the last possible thing.
Oh no!
And sure enough,
Just so happened to be.
yeah.
So I messed up the bomb jump, so I couldn't even get that far, and came back. I'm sitting there cussing myself, thinking, if I learn these dark rooms, yeah, this would have been done 30 minutes ago or more, probably an hour ago.
You can always have the maps open as well.
What's that?
You can always have the maps open as well and just look at the map as you're moving.
So if you wanted to have like a resource open on your screen, you absolutely can do that. That's completely permissible. As far as like watching somebody's chat or the restream chat, that's the part that can't happen.
You can also watch like even
tutorials
videos.
are fine.
Yeah, you can even watch video tutorials for like Ice Palace bomb jump if you wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I thought I had the bomb jump. I practiced the bomb jump all morning this morning with my sprite. I'm like, okay, I got it. And I got it the first try, and then I failed and couldn't get it again.
It's always that. It's never, you don't just get it ever at all. You get it and then you fall, and then you can't get it twice.
Wait, so you're saying theoretically, I could have actually wait, do you know what? I think I just completely lost my mind. Did I even go through the dark room in pod?
No, you never attempted the dark rooms in pod?
You did like the one with the anti-fairies, but that's the easy one.
Oh, that's right. I needed that portion. For some reason, I thought I was still locked behind the maze.
And that was just keys anyway.
As you know, there's never keys in Dark Maze. Ever.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant the one with the anti-fairies.
But yeah, so you can always have resources like that open. That's totally fine.
Phew.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Yeah,
It's a pleasure to commentate this race.
Yeah, thanks for commentating, guys. I'm definitely gonna take a look at this and, watch it from the other perspective.
Ace, you have to make sure also that your game finishes the
Oh, is it frozen?
cutscene. It
I'm
is.
sorry.
You might want to have
That's
like it's like the SNES 9X setting for like run in background, I think.
Enable background.
There we go. Okay, it should pop back up.
Yeah, because they need to have the they need to see
collection
the collection rate and the total time. But yeah, we should be good to go. Not many matches today, but tomorrow, tons, and throughout the week, obviously, 255 or 54 matches, roughly.
It's gonna
A
be
boatload of rando.
Oh yeah.
And we're excited to see the rest of you guys' tournament runs. Both of you guys put on excellent execution today. We had some weird trolliness with the seed, but I get the feeling we're going to see a lot of really great races out of both of you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you. I
appreciate
appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Yeah, thanks. GG again, guys. And thanks again for the commentating and the tracking and the restreaming. Yeah.
Shout out to all staff. GG, folks. And for me, I'm Uday Mystic. I was joined by.
Zelda TV right here.
And see you next mission.